Eminem just did a cover shoot for Complex, and he also gave an interview with himself, so between Marshall Mathers and Slim Shady. Today, we're going to talk about how he proves in this interview that he's grown up, matured, and what this could tell us about the context of the death of Slim Shady. So let's jump straight into this. If you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding hip-hop, make sure to subscribe and also become a part of this community by joining our Discord server in the description. So as I said, the latest Complex issue is with a cover story from Eminem. They also did a little cover shoot where they recreated him with Slim Shady and put like AI faces on Slim Shady to make him look realistic. A couple of cool pictures that came out of that. I'll show them to you over the course of this video. But the most interesting part about this Complex collaboration was the interview that dropped that M also adamantly praised on his social media about the face-off between Eminem, Marshall Mathers, and Slim Shady. Now, this is a 10-11 minute interview that dropped on Complex's YouTube channel, and it features the two of them, the characters, the kind of like AI digital version of Slim Shady on the one side and then the real Marshall Mathers on the other side, sitting, I mean, it looks like in front of the Encore backdrop, which I think is pretty cool. And this is all in the form of an intervention that Slim Shady is now coming back, kind of the concept that we had with the death of Slim Shady about having to bring back Slim Shady because he's accusing Eminem of getting too soft, of not, saying what he thinks and what other people think. And that's the whole basis of this concept, which was what the album was about, obviously. But there's so many funny things that happened over the course of this interview, which then lead to, I guess, a little more serious conclusion. But let's go through a couple of them. So first of all, obviously Slim Shady is saying M got too soft. We also have a bunch of Caitlyn Jenner jokes again in here, to the point where it's just not funny anymore, but that makes it funny again. I don't even know how to say it. Then we have a couple of funny stuff like Slim saying that they only had one era that was relevant, which was himself. They're not like Taylor Swift era, get that? Then we have M pretty well reflecting again and saying that he's grown up and that Slim Shady existed at one point, but that was obviously just temporary, and that he needed to grow out of that persona to, not just stay in that forever and be like a child. That's mainly what he says on the album as well. And that together with everybody else who's too sensitive nowadays, he's also grown up. Now, also funnily, he's making fun of stuff like awfully hot coffee pot, and Slim is saying that M texted him after he did that, so he's not taking himself too seriously. We see that a couple of times over the course of this interview again, but awfully hot coffee pot, that was funny. Slim Shady also calls Love the Way You Lie, which Eminem praises as one of their biggest hits, and that he wrote that in his newer era, as the national anthem for stalkers and domestic abusers. That shit was funny too, I can't admit. Then we also have had them making fun of FAC, so that legendary 2005 song, I believe, the first one on Curtain Call, The Greatest Hits. And that, M is making fun of Slim Shady for doing FAC and putting it as the first song on the Greatest Hits album, which takes some balls. And I still don't know how to feel about it after so many years of listening to it, or at least acknowledging that it's there. It's so cool to see himself taking himself not too seriously and making jokes about stuff that he's did that fans have always questioned. And then we have a pretty interesting moment where he's talking about being hurt. And we can see that Slim Shady, the left side of the screen, he gets very touched when M was talking about that he's hurt, and he starts to glitch and he starts to take some drugs, and it just shows that maybe Slim Shady is this character that was just born out of Eminem being hurt in life, not being successful, having a daughter he needs to provide for, not knowing what else to do because nothing worked before that. So he created this persona, but that was really just a way to cope with being hurt internally. And for fans, it's cool to know that he's grown out of that persona that was only created because he was not doing well, and that led to substance abuse, and that led to him almost dying. So I feel like that was also a pretty central moment in this entire interview. The fact that when talking about being hurt and about being created out of being hurt, Slim Shady starts to glitch and starts to get defensive and starts to immediately resort to the drugs. I think that's a pretty central moment here. What's then also interesting is that Eminem goes on to defend the use of pronouns and, body positivity to Slim Shady, which is obviously something that we know he did it ironically on the album, but it's just not something that I would have expected him to do so openly, because sometimes he has lyrics that we don't know how seriously to take them, but he seems to be very, I don't want to say this in a negative connotation, but he seems to be very liberal in a way, and that is meant in a very positive way. Now also what was interesting is that Eminem or Slim Shady acknowledged the pattern that he also did for the new album, which is that he drops a fake controversial single first, in this case Houdini, but I guess it could be We Made You for Relapse or even before that, and then actually puts the fucked up stuff on the deep cuts of the record so that everybody talks about the record sustainably. And that's something that Eminem has done in the past too, dropping some outrageous song that then gets people to listen and then saying even more messed up stuff on the deeper cuts of the album so that people start talking about the album. Maybe Fack as the intro to the greatest hits could also be an example of that. Also, one moment where Eminem calls Slim BBL Slizzy. I did not know how to react to that. The fact that, I mean, obviously Eminem is aware of contemporary hip-hop going on, but the fact that he's in it that much, that he knows about BBL Drizzy and the beef, and then makes it a joke on here, that came unexpected, bro. How do you know that? Another thing that came very unexpected, and I've seen just a couple of articles online about this, is that Eminem claims, or Slim Shady claimed, that MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, slept with Eminem's mother? I didn't know how to feel about that. And then Eminem kind of acknowledges it. I don't know what's true about it. Maybe there's some underlying misconception or an underlying irony that I don't get. Maybe he means that, you know, he had a successful diss track with Rap Devil against him. But, I mean, he lost the beef, MGK. I did not know what to make of that. But let me know if you have any interpretations of how to interpret that. But in the end, interestingly, Eminem says, look, Slim, it's all about the fans in the end. And Slim really sees this. He sees this as a valid argument and is like, okay, you're right. And in the end, they both agree. And they're on good terms again. I mean, that was probably the most beautiful way this could have ended, with Eminem and Slim Shady actually coming on terms and agreeing that in the end, it's all about the fans. No need to hate or spew hatred between the both of them. No need for the one to despise the other and the other to despise, the other. But that both are the same person, both need to have existed in the past for this new version of Eminem to be here. I think that's a beautiful ending, and I think it shows just how much Eminem reflects on his life and on his career, and he does this through irony. We saw this on the album, we saw this in this interview now as well, and I think that's pretty grown up, man. So Eminem showed that, he'll have some more mature music in the future too, but he can bring back Slim, but it's all good. So I think that's the main point that we get from this. I think it's a beautiful development though. An amazing artistic development when we take a look at the entire timeline of his career, the highs, the lows, the very lows, and now to this point where he says he's been happier than ever since he's sober, ever since he killed off Slim, which he also did figuratively on the album. But let me know what y'all think about this. What did you think about the cover shoot? What did you think about the interview? Let me know your main moments from this in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media, and most importantly, join my Discord in the description. Until the next one, you'll have an incredible day, and y'all take care.